Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you as usual. How is everybody doing? Is everybody ready for the show tonight? That's what it's going to be, a show. Are we ready for the debate tonight? I am. Actually, I'm going to be on air at KPFT at starting at 8 o'clock. And of course, we're going to be online as well. So, it's going to be quite interesting what we got, but we are going to be on air with the show as well. So anyway, folks, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So be prepared. We'll get to see what things really look like. Anyway, how's everybody doing today? Welcome aboard. Seems like our chat is already full. We got Bridge MCP says, "Hey peeps, got my wine and my cheese." Got you, Bridge, out of Binghamton, New York. We got Lee Grant, who just joined us in the house. He is out of Montgomery County. Eric Hayes is in the house from Atascocita, Kingwood. Of course, our great Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, and AVQ from Brooklyn, New York. Great to see you here, my dear brother from Brooklyn, New York. I don't see Yvette Avery Herod not out of Puerto Rico yet. Maybe she's still having fun going out to the different venues out there. I told her she needed to make sure to go to eat some bacalao, but she doesn't eat fried foods anymore. But anyhow, we're going to go ahead and get things started here. How's everybody doing? The phone number is, and I can't remember all these different phone numbers, 281-823-7747 if anybody wants to call in. Again, that number is 281-823-7747 for anybody who wants to call in. Melanie Keelan says, "Is there an Ask Egberto this weekend?" Of course, there is an Ask Egberto this weekend. But you know what happened to me? It's not this weekend, right? It is actually the weekend of the it's the weekend of the 6th, right? Am I losing my mind? Did I mess up at all? Because today is June 27th. This weekend is June 29th. Our Ask Egberto Anything is the weekend of the 6th. I was about to get a little concerned there, It's like, wait a minute. Did I miss something? But, thank you for kind of reminding me anyway, Melanie Keelan. All right, Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. I remembered it, Paul. I remembered that you're from Powder Spring, Georgia. All right, so let's see what we got here. Let's go ahead and start reading. From Michael Radden, he says, "The Hill. Representative Matt Rosendale, Republican Montana, has hung posters outside his office in opposition to in vitro fertilization, IVF. His latest public statement against the procedure most Republicans have rushed to express their support for. If you believe that life begins at conception as I do, there is no difference between an abortion and the destruction of an IVF embryo," says one poster, quoting Rosendale. And I happen to agree with him. I agree wholeheartedly. You can't have it both ways. If you believe life begins at conception, he is correct. If you believe a fertilized egg is a life, then you can't argue with what the brother is saying. I just don't believe that's the case. And that's why I believe in a woman's right to choose. Right? But you know how these extremists are. Michael Rudden also says from Raw Story, what an insult. Republicans raked over the coals for proclaiming IVF destroys life. Rosendale's social media account was swarmed with angry comments, including from people who required IVF to have children and have the procedure to thank for being able to grow their families. Again, like I mentioned several times, folks, Republican orthodoxy, the current Republican orthodoxy, has laid the pathway for a landslide Democratic victory in all venues, meaning in federal elections, meaning in state elections, meaning in county elections. I mean, they're doing every form of barbarism possible. And if we don't monopolize on this by not playing the centrist, the centrist ridiculous stance, but by going all out populist, people want IVF. People want support for parents. People want taxation on corporations. People want all these issues. Don't let the Republican orthodoxy make the waters murky. They have already laid the pathway for us to have a landslide. If we don't get a landslide, it is our doing, but you have to come to a landslide with a passion, with a fight, saying, this is what we stand for. This is what we're going to do. Not half-ass in the way we do things. We have to be powerful, strong, assertive, and point out that these guys are not only fascists, but they want to control every aspect of your life. 10 commandments in the school? Hey, that's easily debunked, right? We don't want IVF? Oh, that's easily debunked. Making the trans stuff a big issue when we know that the most dangerous place for kids to be from being sexually abused is not from a trans in a bathroom, but from a pastor in a church. If you want to know where your child is in most danger for sexual abuse, don't go to the trans. Don't be concerned of the bathroom at your school. Don't be concerned about who is entering that bathroom or not. Because where they go to church, those are the folks that you need to be worried about. That's not me saying. That's what the numbers prove. So as I'm saying, folks, there should be absolutely no doubt that the pathway for a democratic landslide has been laid by the Republican Party. And we can pick up a hell of a lot of Republican voters just from them wanting something very important: freedom, liberty, and government out of your personal lives. Because the only ones who really want government in your personal lives are Republicans. You doubt it? They want to tell you what books you can and cannot read. They want to tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body. They want to tell you what you are going to learn in school. They want to tell companies that if they decide that they want to be inclusive, if they want to have DEI in their companies, then forget it, you're not getting any support from us. They want to tell companies what they can and cannot do. Diversity, equity, and inclusion be damned. Look, man. Hey, Democratic brothers and sisters, individuals, influencers, all of you, the path is ours. You either take it or you sit down and you hang up timidly and you're scared to confront it head on. When they talk about trans, you talk about the pastor in church. When they talk about the immigrants, you talk about the whole housing situation around the entire country. When they talk about the people coming over the border, you talk about the rotten peaches in the in on the fields and the inflation for produce in the stores. You define what the argument is going to be. You define what the narrative is. One of the problems that Democrats have is that they don't define the narrative. They play from a position of defense, even though they have the right to be on offense. And when we decide that we will be on offense because we have worked towards that which is good for our people. And when I say our people, I'm talking about all Americans. When we assert our worth, assert what we do, then things will start going our way. Carl Cox, welcome to Politics Done Right from Georgia. Not the sports fan I used to be. However, how about the Florida Panthers winning the 2024 Stanley Cup? The greatest trophy in all respects, but they almost lost it, right? They were up by 3, and then, whoops, the other team came back, but they did it. They fought, and they did it. Congratulations to Florida. Proud of you guys winning the cup. All right, Alisarian Dreams. Hello to you, my dear, beautiful lady. How are you doing today? Welcome aboard to Politics Done Right. Bridge MCP says, I hope to mute the mic if he starts to ramble and says lies or hateful. Yeah, it's going to be muted, but the one thing people haven't spoken about is that they're close enough that he can disrupt Biden's thinking. So what I hope when Biden was practicing is that he practiced saying his piece irrespective of hearing some crazy stuff in his right ear. Right? In other words, don't worry about the noise coming from Donald Trump. Just keep talking. Paul Fleming says, ex-Fox News star Ed Henry accused of sexual harassment and grooming behavior at Real American's Voice. And you know what? It wouldn't be the first time. He already got in trouble. Ed Henry got in trouble in Vegas a few years ago. I guess he continues. I haven't read your story, but I imagine it's a new story. But it's always the folks from, well, anyway. All right, Paul Fleming to Eric Hayes. Paul Fleming, Dana husband, one of the 50 that signed the letter saying Hunter laptop not real. Who cares about Hunter laptop? I don't care about Hunter's laptop. America doesn't care about Hunter laptop. Hunter is not running for president. Hunter is running for nothing. What's your obsession? It is like you guys are savants. Right? Okay. Para ver. Bruce is in the house. Hello, Bruce. How you doing, my brother? Bruce, I am going to be staging my my Netroots setup in about 3 or 4 days, and we're going to do a program from my staging of the Netroots setup, and I'll let you know when. Let's talk about it. All right, let's see what else we got here. Our youngest is trans. Alzarian, well, you tell if your youngest ever wants to do a very civil and educational interview. I don't know how young your son is, okay? But I would love to interview your youngest is. I don't know if you meant daughter or son. But I interviewed the first Arizona trans congressperson at Netroots in Phoenix a few years ago. And I learned a lot. All right, Lee Grant says, what's wrong with 10 Commandments in the schools? It's on the Supreme Court building. What's wrong with the 10 Commandments in school? There's nothing wrong with the 10 Commandments in school, but to mandate that it has to be there. Suppose a Muslim student says, I want to mandate that these pages of the Quran be also there. You see the kind of worms that it opens. Michael Rodden says a single extreme weather event isn't climate change. A pattern of extreme weather events with a trend towards higher temperature, that is climate change, which is exactly what we're having. And earlier today, I was going to do a story about prosecuting the fossil fuel industry because they single-handedly made sure that the truth about climate change didn't come out. And when you have a Reagan, remember, we had Carter with solar panels on the roof of the White House in 1979. 1979. How many years ago that was? That is 21 plus 24, 46 years ago. Imagine if we had gone through the syn fuels program where the syn fuel was actually regenerative type fuels. Imagine if we had solarized and the place, every rooftop became a power generation station. There is so much we could have a national initiative to have done to mitigate the billions of tons of carbons we've thrown into the atmosphere and the oceans. But because of the misinformation, because of the lies, because of what they've done, they have murdered millions of people. Well, I can't say millions, hundreds of thousands of people over the years. We probably have to say millions if we take into account all of the hurricanes that have killed thousands in places we don't know, right? All right, I see. Let me scroll all the way down because it looks like Breach has something that she wants for the screen. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's go here and get it onto the screen. I think my screen is blinking. Let's see how it does it here. All right, here we go, Breach. I think I got it on the screen for you. It says, Trump supporters demand to know if Navajo congressman is here illegally. Let that sink in for a moment. Get out of the country, Navajo lawmaker harassed by Arizona Trump supporters. It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. Yes, let that sink in. I'm gonna put it on a different channel to stop that there. Okay, that is stopping for a while, but I can't use that channel all of the times. So if that is not sick, I don't know what is. Navajo, as in the original people of this country. Amazing. Amazing. Billy Allison Irwin is in the house. Welcome, Billy. How are you doing? Maybe I can get a call from you today, 281-823-7747. Let's see what else we got here. Michael Radin says, replying to Bridge, holy SHIT, that's real, Snopes. In January 2018, reports surfaced that supporters of Donald Trump confronted a Native American legislature during an anti-immigration protest at the Arizona state capitol, demanding to know whether he was in the country legally. The viral stories on various websites, including The Hill and the liberal rawstory.com, were all original reporting of Arizona Capital Times, a nonpartisan weekly newspaper focused on Arizona government and state politics. We confirm that one of the anti-immigrant protesters did indeed ask an indigenous state representative whether or not he was legal, both through video footage of the incident and 3 corroborating interviews with Arizona state legislature who witnessed the scene. In the background of the following video, a protester asked Representative Eric Descheny whether he is legal. Descheny is Navajo. Sometimes I try not to use words like stupid and idiot and all of that because it stunts the conversation. But my God, how difficult it is to, well, let's move on. All right, now it's the numbers for Israel. Right wing, let's see, before that, dates 265. There are 37,765 Palestinians killed, 334 persons more than day 259. At least 86,429 wounded, 977 persons more than day 259, which is a total casualty of 124,194 casualties. That means if this were equivalent to the relative amount of people in America, it would be equivalent to, oh, you didn't have that one today. Anyway, if you put that number up today, later on, E2247, I will read it. All right, continuing with what you guys had to say. Bloomberg. Or actually, I think I had one uh, from Paul Fleming that says a West Virginia couple is facing charges of human trafficking, child neglect, forced labor, and more after prosecutors alleged they adopted 5 black children from a shelter to do forced labor and live in deplorable conditions. Wow, didn't hear that one. I didn't hear that one. According to Roland Martins, the following black media outlets requested credentials to tonight's debate and have been denied: Ebony, Black Enterprise, Atlanta Black Star, Atlanta Voice, The Shade Room, and NPA. What gives CNN? That's like very interesting for real. What gives CNN? I don't know why you would do that. All right. Paul Fleming says right-wing pastor Jack Hibbs say that by putting the Ten Commandments in public school classrooms, teachers are not going to be raping kids anymore. Well, it obviously worked in churches. Now that is funny, Paul. That is funny because, like I said, the most dangerous place for students to be sexually uh, molested is in church. It's amazing, but it's a statement of fact. Let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming says Texas is already the U.S. epicenter of extreme weather with storms, fires, and floods, racking up billions in damage. It's going to get worse. Yes, it is. Egberto and Bridge, a central conceit of liberalism we inherited from the Enlightenment on which U.S. founders depended, is the idea that with time and education, with science and reason, all persons must eventually climb up a ladder of civilization all the way to liberalism. But persons in the PDR posse, not influenced by reasons, pretty much destroy that conceit of liberalism, and so we must withdraw from them our attention and work instead to mobilize persons who will act to better our society. And let me just answer that in this respect, E2247. The thing is, we don't know which ones are misinformed but willing to change after being informed. And because I can't read somebody's mind, I have to put out a large net. Now, you may say, well, look at the people in the PDR posse that continuously spew ridiculous right wing crap, right? You can say, should we not just throw them out because they are really mathematically incorrect, socially incorrect? No, because there are others out there who think that way. And I repeat this ad nauseum. There are others who think that way. And by us challenging them with ethical, moral, mathematical responses, while it might not help them, the thousands that will listen to our podcasts and otherwise, they will, the ones who seeds can be planted, sprout, and grow, they will be there. And I'm not asking this is that possible? When I wrote my book, here's my book. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relative, friends, and neighbors. It wasn't about winning the winning everybody over. It was about winning those who can come over to sanity. It's about winning those. And those who want to be left behind, so be it. Stay behind in one stupor. That's fine. It doesn't stop me from, hanging with you. It doesn't stop me from talking to you, because no matter what, they're a part of the fabric, right? They are part of the fabric of America. I mean, if let's say I were to castigate all those who have these thoughts. Do you know how many people I have? Do you know how many friends I have that just because of my hue, even though they won't talk to me or say it, they think less of me? Well, I'm going to Netroots Nation in 2 weeks. I am the progressive interviewer there that has interviewed for the last several years more than any other progressive newscast on Radio Row. That's a statement of fact. And still, do you think that, don't you think I would always have first dibs at whatever they're given the performance and the work that I put in? No. Why? Because uh, of historical reason, one isn't taken as seriously as others. But here's the kicker: I could let that affect me and just throw my hands up and go do something else, forget about that, or I can chuck down and move on. And the same is how I feel about PDR Posse. I can let the few that are constantly trying to malign or constantly trying to infect change our modus operandi, or we can push forward. And again, everybody here doesn't have to do that. When some of you get tired of listening to the crap and the misinformation, you check out for a little while, you get your sanity back, and then you come back, right? In my case, I never lose my sanity, man. For me, it's like thick skin, right? So I just want to make that tell you that, brother E2247. So look, I get you. I read you. I understand you. Bruce says maybe we should not proclaim church abuse as number one. It is a contributor, but family members and peers are also in the numbers. Check NCMB. Oh, actually, what I wanted to claim is not the reason I said church. I'm talking about organized institutions, but I will go ahead and read the extract, which is I think church is the number one organization that were these things, meaning church or church related. And I'm talking about organized, places of organization, not somebody living with your cousin. Again, we know that proximity is the biggest precursor to that, but teachers have proximity too, and they don't qualify in that regard, right? You can correct me if there's something that I missed there. You have the article, Bruce. All right, let's see. Lee Grant says we're a secular nation with a Western culture. Christianity is a pillar of Western culture. Rather Christianity brought and sold you 1,000 years ago, regardless of your current belief. Actually, again, we have to be careful of the history that we learn. Western civilization cannot be attributed to Christianity. Western culture cannot be thought of as European or white culture. It isn't. Western culture has always been the amalgamate, the combination of everything. Let's just see. One of the most lethal part of Western culture is war, and who helped with that? The Chinese with the invention of, I think it's gunpowder. We can look at how all these different societies, these different cultures intermingle to create what we call Western culture. So be careful of that. Don't believe everything that you read. It's important that you have a context and narrative. Michael Ryan says, Lee, what the heck did you say at the end there? You're gonna have I don't know what he's saying. I have no idea what he's saying there. I really don't know what he's saying. I really don't know what he's saying. But anyway, Bowie, give us a call on the actual number 281-823-7747. 281-823-7747. Can't do two at the same time. Let's see what else we got here. I don't see her in the house though. I just see that call, but don't see the house. All right, let's see what else we got. British MCP says, Lee Grant, we have separation of church and state. We are not a Christian nation. We are a nation that allows you to be Christian or whatever you want. And what's so fun is not even the founders, most of the founders weren't Christians. And they wanted to have, in fact, many of them were atheists as well. Amazing, isn't it? How we change history. Michael Radin says, anyone have a clue what Lee meant when he said Christianity bought and sold you 100 years ago? I think he meant me. I don't think he meant you, Radin. I think he assumed that you were black. Mr. Radin is a white guy. I don't think we had the selling and buying and selling of white people in America, though we did have indentured servitude, which is just a indentured servitude is just a step above that, of course. Yeah. And by the way, we got the Bacon's Rebellion when the white indentured servants and the slaves got together to say, we're going to kick their butts because we understand that this economic system doesn't work for us, you know? And that is from that time, that is how the massa learned that we were not going to let black and white people come together. Because if they come together, they will see the fraud that our economic system is. And then, of course, when slavery got abolished and they created the the corporation always there, but the corporation and employment took a bigger foothold. Suddenly, you know, the divide that they create got sort of, well, you understand what I'm saying. Let's say, Michael said, Berto, I think you are probably smarter than me, and that your hue meant you had to work more than twice as hard than I have in my life. Absolutely so. And it's funny because Bill Maher, who somehow, I don't know, I think he got his brain fried as he grew up. When the God, what's his name? Charlemagne the God went on a show, Bill Maher wanted Charlemagne the God to say, well, because a recently, I don't remember which artist said, or which, it's an artist or somebody. Oh, Biden went to Morehouse, and Biden said to the college, I understand you have to work twice as hard to get half as good, or something like that, Biden said. And of course, Bill Maher took exception to that. And Bill Maher said, you don't believe that, right, Charlemagne the God? And Shalimar said, oh, no, I do. But it may not be 10 times as hard anymore, but it may be 5 times as hard. And Bill said, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. When he talks about elitism of the left, he's partially correct that many on the left are elitists. But his level of elitism goes beyond everybody else. He's not to the left. I don't know where the hell Bill Maher is these days. But if he doesn't think that your hue, your who you are, make a difference, I wanted to get his address to send him my book, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Racism didn't stop my smile, hope, or journey forward. Let me put a book on the screen. I wanted to send him a copy of my book. And let me tell you why. By the way, go to politicsandright.com/books to get this. Because I tell the story. It's easy to read. It's a real story about what I went through. And it's what I wrote in here, that I wrote the book for two audiences, right? And I want to say what I said. I wrote this book for two audiences. I hope that the words I chose were sufficiently tactful for all to feel compelled not just to read, but to empathize. It is short and concise enough to read over more than once, to get some of what is inferred but purposely not said, directly to prevent that automatic objective thought process shut down. I want everybody to remain objective. The first audience is people of color. We suffer day in and day out from indignities, sometimes overtly, but most of the time behind the scenes, covertly. We can address the overt immediately. The covert can be inferred and require analysis to show correlation. If you are called by an epithet, or if you are dressed comparably at a restaurant and singled out, those are overt. If your interest rate is high, or you don't get a job you know you are qualified for, that is covert and requires correlation to ascertain. Irrespective of who I encounter, I am always courteous with a smile. I go out of my way often not to let the negative vibes of those who are observably racist or xenophobic to change my demeanor. Often that stance is enough for that person to change their behavior and ingratiate themselves to me, often clearly embarrassed and sometimes apologetic. I am sufficiently, I, let's see, I gotta, all right, okay. This is Politics Done Right. May I help you? Are you willing? Do you like to say something? I guess. Hello? I guess it wasn't a real call per se. So let's go ahead and go to another. Continuing with what I was reading. Often that stance is enough for that person to change their behavior or ingratiate themselves with me. I am sufficiently confident that humility and the disregard of negativity allow me to exist outside of what is frustrating and somewhat dehumanizing to many. And in doing so, I take command of the interaction as I steer it to a more positive interaction. The second audience is for those who never have to think about their race. In other words, my white audience. I hope you choose to see America, the world, through my eyes and stories if for the duration of this read. Irrespective of race, religion, ideology, language, sexuality, gender, etc., we are all Americans. Most importantly, we were and are all indispensable to the fabric of this nation. So whether it's Lee Grant, Billy Allison Irwin, E2247, Bridge MCP, Carl Cox, Brother Paul Fleming, Bridge, Michael Rudnin, we are all in this game together. Unfortunately, for a large part of the population, POCs and other identities remain silent when confronted by the ignorance or willful ignorance of others, the former understandable and forgivable. In that light, I will end the book with a few questions to ponder. And I put out a whole lot of questions there. But here's the thing. I got onto that subject because of something that our brother here said. And there we go again with this lockup. I don't understand what happens here. Let me go ahead and restart real quickly, guys, and we're going to come back real quickly.